I now recognize the member from Fredericton West Hanwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm hoping that the Minister perhaps could give us an update on what progress has been made in the repavement of Hanwell Road and what is planned for the future.
So thank you for the question through the chair. As the member knows fully well, as a good government we are, we have invested significantly on Hanwell Road last year. I think it's 8 or 9 kilometers of refurbishing that road. Now, in terms of moving forward, we have sat down with the City of Fredericton, and as you're fully aware, there's going to be a lot of work done on Regent Street and the intersection at Regent Street and Regent Mall area. And so with the consultation and some advice, it was decided because of traffic flow, and there's going to be a lot of inconvenience, if you allow me to use those words, as this project will unfold. It was decided to push out the completion of the rehab of surfacing the Hanwell Road. There's not a big piece left to be done, but in consultation with the city, we've decided to push it out and really focus on the Regent area, because as you would know, this is a very significant project. It's going to be allowing a better flow of the traffic. It is an area I would actually consider around the province where there's a lot of congestion in terms of traffic flow, and some work needs to be done, and that's why we have, through our Deputy Premier, who's been very supportive of this project, we are going to move forward with that project, and it's going to be a great investment for the greater Fredericton area, and that's the plan. I would say.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if the Minister could tell us if there was any consultation done with the rural community of Hanwell or the citizens of Hanwell.
As the member is aware, I mean, there's been discussions with the community you're talking about, but not recently, but there's been some conversation. You know, when we make decisions in terms of how and where we invest these dollars, we also have to put into consideration the traffic flow and the impact as construction does take place. And looking at all around the work that's going to be done in the greater Fredericton area, in those two areas, we, with consultation with the city, believe that it was the right place to put our dollars and to really upgrade that whole intersection and overpass to the benefit of everybody using that, including, I suspect, people living on Hanwell Road as they probably go to Regent Mall or wherever they go in that side of the city.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't consider that really a great answer. My concern is for the residents of Hanwell. I'm here as their representative, but they have other local representatives in terms of the regional municipality there, and I'd like the Minister to tell us if there has in fact been any consultation on this project with that council, or if there's been any public consultation in that area, because certainly as the MLA I was not involved in this or not consulted. So the Minister says, as I know, but I don't know. That's why I'm asking him here today. I'd like to know what this Minister did recently to consult the citizens of Hanwell through their elected representatives or otherwise on this specific project.
just to respond to the member, what the minister has done is look at the bigger picture of the entire province, and certainly in the greater Fredericton area, how we invest and where we put our dollars. It's like I've mentioned, last year we've resurfaced 8-9 kilometers on Hanwell Road, and I think that was really appreciated by the community, and I'm sure it was appreciated by the member who tried to take the credit for it. But that being said, we as a government, as a minister, you look at all of the projects that are on the table, and we try to prioritize based on the impact economically, for sure, and how it will have an impact in terms of how we can manage the traffic flow. And the piece on the region intersection is a very important piece, as the city of Fredericton and the entire area is growing in terms of their retail industry sector and other kinds of service sectors. And as a government, we believe the need at this time was to focus on that area. And I hope the member is supportive of the investments being made in that specific area of the Regent Street intersection, as this is greatly needed, and a lot of work has been done by the engineers, and we believe it's going to be to the best interest of the entire greater Fredericton area.
Mr. Chair, I understand the minister has to take a provincial stand on this, and I encourage him to do that on every occasion. But I do remain concerned that, in fact, it appears there was no consultation done with any of the residents of Hanwell, that consultation was limited to discussions with the City of Fredericton and with particular interest in the Regent Street intersection. And although I travel that intersection almost every day, and I realize how important it is, the fact of the matter is that Hanwell Road is where the priority should be, and that priority was established a few years ago, as the minister well knows. And this is not about taking credit, but the reality is that money was put in the budget for a specific project with a specific timeline attached to it, and that this minister has come in and made a different decision without consulting the people that are most affected, which is the people of Hanwell. So I wish the minister would at least acknowledge that. I'd also like him to tell us now if in fact, that budget, if he can assure this committee that money is still in the budget and can give us a timeline for the completion of the job on Hanwell Road.
So thank you for your comments. Obviously, from your perspective, this should be the priority, and I understand that. It is your constituency. This being said, when we look at the greater Fredericton area, there's some very significant investment needs to be made in terms of the intersection overpass at Regent Street, and there's also some significant investment needs to be made on the north side at First Nation Crossing. So there's a lot of investment that's going to happen in the greater Fredericton area. There's been some significant investment last year. I'll remind the member again that there was 8 or 9 kilometers of resurfaced paving work done on Hanwell Road, and I'm sure that the member appreciates that. We can't do everything the same year. We keep doing more work as we move forward. Asset management obviously is it's critical in how we make our decisions, and so in this fiscal year there will not be, to confirm to him, there will not be any resurfacing of pave on Hanwell Road. That's decision we have made as we have looked at the entire area in terms of projects, and I can tell you that the investment that's going to be made on Regent Street intersection, it's going to help more economic development in the greater Fredericton area, and the investment that will be made at First Nation Crossing, it's going to help the greater Fredericton area to grow even more from the retail perspective, from an economic perspective. It's using taxpayers' dollar to allow those dollars to be invested and to grow the economy and to see some growth. And so this construction season, these two projects is where most of the dollars are going.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, one of my concerns about this issue is that, in fact, the project on Hanwell Road was a 2-year, in fact, a 3-year phase project. And the first year, as the minister may be aware, and his staff could certainly brief him on this, was that the power lines would be moved, the gas lines would be moved, the land would be procured. And then in the second year, the top end of Hanwell Road would be not repaved, not resurfaced, but in fact completely redesigned from the ground up. because that road was never built to handle the amount of traffic that it gets. And then the third year, which would be this year, the second part, the lower part of the city end of Hanwell Road would be similarly reconstructed. So it's not just a matter of repaving. Yes, there's kilometers at the back end of Hanwell Road that were repaved, but this is a small section of Hanwell Road, but an important section that's been designated as one of the worst highways in New Brunswick and in fact in Canada. So my concern goes to that. So I understand the minister has said he's shifted the priorities, and that's part of his purview. He's allowed to shift priorities. I'm disappointed he hasn't consulted the people that are affected by this, but that's not a surprise given the way this government's been doing business. But I am concerned about the future, and I'm concerned about finishing the project that was started, in fact, on Hanwell Road, and I wonder if the minister could assure this committee that the funds remain in place to finish that project that was started over the last 2 years.
So just to respond to the member, obviously, as we move forward and money does become available, we'll look at all projects. And this is one that will be looked at moving forward. And I would ask the member, even though I know he speaks on behalf of his constituency, that he should travel the province. I hear he may be doing that lately. To look at other parts of our province also who's got some really dire straight road conditions that are in really bad shape because of neglect in the 4 years you were in government. So we're trying to rehabilitate these roads. We have increased significantly the capital dollars that are put on roads and infrastructure, and then hopefully we're waiting for the federal budget tonight, that we will have some good news for more dollars to be invested in the province of New Brunswick for infrastructure, and we will work very, very hard to get our fair share because we didn't get it in the 4 years you were in government.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We seem to have the level of debate seems to have dropped a little bit here, but what I really want to know from this minister is, when can we expect the funds to be in place to complete the project in Hanwell Road? Because, Mr. Chair, I really believe that this government has got a longer-term planning cycle than 12 months, and I'm sure that they have looked at projects outside the next construction season, which is coming up on us quickly this spring. So I'd like the minister to tell us when he intends to finish what was started on Hanwell Road, and when he can assure us that the money is in the budget to do that.
Chair, this member had the opportunity to do this work when he was in government for 4 years, didn't do it. So as a government, we are actually taking very seriously the road condition and the infrastructure conditions. That's why we've invested a lot of dollars last year on Hanwell Road, and 8-9 kilometers of road was resurfaced. The member should be fully aware, if he's not, that on an annual basis we go through a capital budget process, and I can't tell you today what's going to be the projects funded next year. I can't tell you that because there's a budget process that needs to be followed, and then government makes decisions based on many different elements. And so when we have that information and funding does become available for the specific project he's mentioning, we'll be happy to tell him.
Chair, I think the minister, perhaps the minister doesn't know his files, but I'm certainly aware that the staff sitting around him do, and they realize that there is in fact a longer-term plan, that the government doesn't plan in 12-month cycles, they actually plan in several-year cycles, and that's a prudent way to manage. And so I'm wondering if the minister could tell us if somewhere in the next projections for the next few years, which I know they have, if they are considering taking the money that was allocated for Hanwell Road and in fact spending it on Hanwell Road.
Thank you for the questions. Of course, it's part of the plan. You should be fully aware of that. I mean, it is part of the plan. In terms of funding, I can't tell you if the funding is going to be available because we haven't gone through next year's capital budget process. And that's done on an annual basis, Mr. Chair, where we look at the dollars available and based on a plan where dollars should be invested. If we have good news, obviously, with our federal partners, more dollars would become available and more work can be done. So it's interesting, the member opposite, where today he wants to have more work done in his riding, but then he gets up on the floor of the legislature regularly at question period and criticizes our capital dollar investments. You can't have it both ways. If you want to have jobs done, work done in your riding, well, you got to support our capital plan.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to conclude there. I love how this government and this minister in particular like to paint these false dichotomies. It's got to be either this or that. The reality is he knows there's a budget process. He knows that this money was all reallocated to this project. He knows that he's reallocated it elsewhere without consulting any of the elected members or even members of the community on this project. So I'll have to leave it with my disappointment. This is an important project, Mr. Chair. It's not just an important project because it's in my riding, but it's also an important project because it was identified clearly as one of the worst roads in Canada, and so that should have put it at the priority list. The reality was that money was allocated over, 3 years ago. This project was begun. The first phase was completed, the second phase was completed, but then this minister has intervened and decided to push it off indefinitely, and it's not clear to me today that it'll ever be finished. So I don't like to see things left undone, but unfortunately we're going to see more of that with this government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.